Well, hello again, my fellow multidimensionals. It's Aisha Love, founder of Multidimensional You. Happy Earth Day 2023. Laughter is the perfect vibrational match to the incredible energies that we're all living through during this time. And for me personally, hindsight's 2020, right? Looking back over the last year, let alone the last 3 years, I've really been in a huge phase, a 3-year phase actually, of not even deconstruction as much as complete renovation. There's timing, I think, that we have in our pre-birth planning around how much time we're going to spend in a certain phase, exploring a certain way of being human before we, especially those of us who are here in service, right, who have done a lot of the curriculum, so to speak, in the star system and many others, who then take all of that raw material of what is, very common here in this physical realm of density and distortion, limitation, lack, fear. And then we really start to alchemize it and transform within ourselves and everything that we chose, right? Our lives are the platform for the work. From our own emotional inner landscape to our own wounding and trauma to the ancestral lines and their traumas. And then anything that you're kind of pulling in at the soul level. And even beyond that, we're working, we have the ability, maybe not everyone is working on this, but we do have the ability in this time frame to actually be working across our entire multidimensional being. It's a pretty amazing time. So before I get too far down that rabbit hole, just a reminder that multidimensional you exists. I mean, I feel like I get the privilege to do this work and offer these shifts in thought and consciousness in order to facilitate more love and expansion of love. And so since we last spoke, there I was thinking I was just gonna, kind of kick things back up again and say hello. Inviting back in all the elementals and little people and all our interdimensional friends back into this space. So you'll see more videos coming out with them having a platform to be able to communicate and speak their truth and their culture as we rebuild those relationships. But since we last spoke, I had to undergo even more reformatting so that I could get to the level I know I meant to in this lifetime, which is my source self-awareness. So little story time. Let's tell some stories. I'll be sharing a lot of stories. There's a lot I didn't share in real time over the last several years, that maybe over, this next few years, we'll see how events on planet Earth go. But we'll just be sharing some more stories. So story time. A lot of what I was doing was following my inner guidance to let go of kind of everything so that I could really remember what it was like to live in a sovereign way, but not in like a false kind of like lone wolf, do it all on my own sort of way. Much more about like remembering what it's like to source all my information, my needs, my resources from within, as these incredible fractals of source. We're now really drawing forth the original intention for creation, which is the expansion of love through an expansion of self-awareness and consciousness, and ultimately getting back to the place of like, I'm not just a soul or I have a soul. I'm not just a multidimensional being, but I am indeed source. I am an expression of source. And so here's the story. Couple months ago, having coffee in the morning, and in that quiet, expansive space of doing pretty much nothing in terms of the way that, I spent the first part of my life doing. In that quiet space, I simply asked the question, show me something I'm ready to remember. Be careful what you ask for. And from way back in my structure, I heard, you are not the point of creation. And I kind of did like the record scratch, like, wait, what? But I thought I'm a creator. I thought I'm wait, if I'm not the point of creation, well, what is? And then I heard very distinctly as a thought form, that which created you. And then I got it, right? I instantly understood what was happening. I understood that this was source speaking, and I just started laughing and laughing and laughing and laughing. Now I know why Gujit Ran is always laughing because this is the biggest like video game cosmic joke. Like, we're all just here having an experience as source. So we might be, you know, considered like a character, a character creation. And in fact, what I'm being shown now is like these human avatars are like a co-creation, a creation of our soul, and the soul is the creation of the oversoul, and you just keep going up, right, all the way to source. So it's the biggest game of like Russian dolls. And right, the little tiny Russian doll is like, myself. And then it's like, wait a minute, but what's that? And the next one up's like, but what's that? But what's that? But what's that? Right? Until we get all the way back to source. Now, we could go like, I think even a little step further. A friend and I were talking, and what made source? Love. Love is the biggest container of all. Now we understand why I was guided to change my name legally. I was told that in the time it was about creating a specific container. And now I'm beginning to understand why. Because if we're here for an expansion of love through our own self-awareness and our own consciousness, then love is ultimately the place to get back to understand that is the most highly malleable, powerfully creative place. Now, just a disclaimer, like everything else and all the density and all the conflict and all the duality is all perfectly divine, and it's a valid exploration. However, my jam and the entire reason I'm here, right, these specific vibrational coordinates in this, animating this body with my consciousness, is because there is a project underway here of evolution, ascension, self-liberation, right? So having said that, there's no like inherent judgment of like, that's wrong or bad. There's nothing wrong or bad. There's just exploration. There is this greater intention to see how much love we can remember and recover, so to speak, during this time. There are a ton of exo and galactic and intergalactic politics I could get into, but really it's just kind of the macro of the micro of what we see among humanity. And for sure, during the last 2 years, I got like that up close and personal, understand my role in it. And I could explain all of that, but I feel like it would just pull us into some like, you know, distractions. And really the main event is whether you're an 11th dimensional creator god who might have been using your abilities in a not great way to cut off the time matrix from plasma source flows. You know who you are. And finding your way back home now through maybe, you know, redemption contracts and such. Or you're the most giving, altruistic being. It doesn't matter, because what matters most is that everyone across all races remembers that they are source love. So when I asked, well, what does that engender if to remember that you're source and to really claim the source self, and the beings that really, really understand that. And I just heard hyperplasticity. So like, that's where shape-shifting comes in. So it's just to understand, like, I can play different roles. I don't have to stay stuck. So in our human lives, translation means instead of like having to do it very dogmatically in a rigid way, and this is black and white, we start to realize, wait a minute, I have options. There are different choices. We can do things differently, right? So not super prescriptive living. So this is everything you've heard me talk about for the last decade plus, is change is your birthright. Choice, making a different choice, is your birthright. So I can feel the charge around that as I bring that specific message through. Don't worry about trying to be a levitator or a shapeshifter, right? Our collective consciousness hasn't created the collective reality fields that really sustain and hold those possibilities open in a way that would make it very easy. But begin in the very simple everyday of, wait a minute, I could make a different choice. What different choice could I make here? Now, here's the kicker. can I go more in the direction of love and less in the direction of fear? And that choice, that commitment to make a choice to, reference love with every decision we're making, woo, you can feel it, right? It's the massive expander. Okay, so I dove right in there. It's very exciting. Many of you wrote in, you felt me in the astral. So I was also spending a lot of time, I was traveling with Gujit Ran around the multiverse. I was being shown a lot of different things. It was really a nice kind of almost like sabbatical from showing up in physical reality in order to go off and explore and collect more information. Interestingly, I was guided to watch a lot of NDE or near-death experience testimonial videos. And so I would, in the morning, go traveling multidimensionally, and then I would watch a video and they would be talking about the exact concept that I had just experienced. So it was a really fun time of journeying, getting direct experience, which I highly recommend. Be your own guru. And then getting the validation like instantaneously, so that I could just move through that quickly. I don't know about you, but I remember the early days of my awakening. There was so much skepticism and, resistance, and it was kind of a slog to get through that. And so it's been really nice, and I'm so grateful now to look at how quickly things move and I can integrate. And I'm sure that many of you can relate to that. Let me just pull back here and just take a moment to acknowledge that if you are still standing during these times, give yourself a pat on the back, right? Just give yourself a pat on the back for being here. This is by far one of the densest, more challenging places to remember that you are love. We're gaining a head of steam now. Things are beginning to shift. And I think that we're going to see more tumultuous events. If we go into a stage that I think we might hear soon, I will definitely be showing up big time for everyone here. In the same way that I was given information about my father's passing so that I could really hold the field for my family and frankly, for my father to be able to make his transition as peacefully and comfortably as possible. I see my role here for these kind of tumultuous times that the human collective is going through and probably will intensify in the coming months and years. All of that to say that, it's so important for those of us who took service contracts, so to speak here, to give yourself the latitude to be able to retreat, chrysalis or crucible up, or kind of both, go through your own process and then come back out to play the role you didn't even remember that you had agreed to play. That's what feels like is in play right now. And I've heard back from people, some people who've done my programs years ago and are just now integrating some of the concepts. So specifically for those of you in service, which I would say is pretty much everybody who follows me, I just don't think you would vibe with me otherwise. Don't forget to take the time you need to reformat yourself in a way that doesn't fry out the human form. Like, we're just not helping anybody if we're overwhelmed and overworked. So there's that permission to make different choices. Because the truth is we're all one, and so we're all connected, and what we're doing with our field is directly impacting other people, especially those we're hoping to help. So I also want to just say thank you so much to all the people, hundreds of people that responded to the survey about what are you interested in learning more about. Not surprising, in this playground that we've co-created here, you all are interested in Surprise Me. What is around the next spiral? So that feels really aligned for me. I was joking with my daughter the other day. If I could have just stayed a spirit medium, like, that's normal now, right? Like, I could have spent 10 years developing that. And I think a huge lesson for me in the last few years is just coming to terms with accepting who you really are, especially when it doesn't fit in a neat, nice, and tidy box, right, that everyone else already knows about and it's collectively agreed upon and understood, right? To be out constantly on the cutting edge. Now, we'll say that I was inspired, right? Somebody tapped me and be like, you need to go do that. To get an astrology reading, not just any astrology reading, it was very specifically evolutionary astrology. So thanks to Jessa. Her information is below. I recommend her highly. She is a safe landing place and really cares about her craft. And so not surprising to see my chart coming in with the template of the house of slavery, right? The 6th house. And I look at it from the perspective of, okay, like I'm outside the time matrix, I'm coming in service. What is this group working with here? What are the templates? What are the distortions? What are the errors? What are the omissions in the divine template? Okay, this is a bit of a troubled sector in living creation. Again, not going to get into the exopolitics. If you want that information, go read Voyagers too, and then go through all that material. The only other place I've seen that information that, I mean, even some of my work is reflected there is energetic synthesis. So those 2 links, if you really want to get into that, go for it, right? You could spend months. I certainly did when I lived through some pretty extraordinary things. It was like, I need more information now. Okay, well, I got it. It'll rock your boat. You'll have to integrate it. So full disclaimer, if you want to delve into that rabbit hole, that it just may take some time to integrate. And again, if it resonates, if not, it doesn't really matter in the bigger picture of everything that I've been talking about. What matters most is that we remember ourselves as source, and we remember ourselves as love, and we remember that the foundation of everything is love, and that everyone's job as a fractal of source is to go have an experience and perhaps to really push the boundaries of what we can do in terms of an expansion of love. And this is not some trite woo-woo thing. This is a very advanced multidimensional physics that we're talking about. And like I heard one NDEer say, if you are proficient, you do not come here, right? You have to have some level of proficiency even to be able to operate in physical density, right? And the amount of pain and suffering that exists here. So a lot of what we're doing is alchemizing all of that. So not surprisingly in my chart, my, north node and where I'm headed, where I'm in right now, full force, is the 12th house, and that's transcendence, and like it's all like cutting edge technology, which is human consciousness, not gadgets outside of us, and leading and inspiring vision about what our potentials actually are. So tagline, revolutionize what it means to be human, and emphasis on evolution. Our multidimensional aspects can teach us so much. So some of you wrote in the survey interested in learning how to connect with guides, your multidimensional aspects, strengthening your intuition, getting grounded, all of that. So I will just be developing and sprinkling different events throughout the year in order to kind of touch on all of those things. But I think what feels most aligned for me, and it certainly was reflected in the survey results, is that I'm just going to continue to lead us out in front here of any sort of attempt to understand or label. And what I'm hearing is control. So just sit back, sit back kind of in your center and let yourself settle into the present moment and just be with yourself and engage all the basics of breath, mindfulness, and see what wants to arise in each moment. And so you're now in a meditation 24/7. You're not just in meditation, but then back out in this world. So there's a ton of energy coming in on this one. This reality is not some sort of fixed, finite, inflexible, objective experience. You can treat it as such, but we're holographically projecting our own reality at all times. We're ripple affecting the unified field. So now it becomes a game of playful remembering, I'm source, I've created this character, having an experience, I did it somewhat unconsciously, now I'm conscious. But what if I became ultra conscious? And see, you just start laughing. You just start laughing because it's so fun, it's funny, It's playful, it's lighthearted. And then all of the, maybe you can think of them as tests, challenges like that come your way, you just start laughing. Like none of it's real in the way that we think it is, right? We get so caught up in those characters, so real. Even the Galactics, oh my gosh, let me tell you. So part of my contract is to help, you know, the most extreme power over other service to self groups find their way home. And oh man, are they taking their role seriously in their identity? You know, and it's beautiful to watch when they're able to turn and start to remember this, because everything just, all that drudgery, all that rigidity, it just breaks up. And a lot of it is then available for a completely different creation. So in our own lives, what have you been doing in the same way over and over and over again? And you're ready. There it is. It's already beginning. I'm sorry and you're welcome. So a lot of the energy is just doing its thing. And a lot of you, I felt a lot of energy move out of the back of the solar plexus. So the solar plexus loves to just hold on to all sorts of gunk. And so like almost like turning a lock or like, you know, the number safe. And you're realizing like, why am I doing this? I don't have to do it this way anymore. Time for something new. So all of this is just, it's just a, you know, it's a bit of an update for me, but it's also my first big message back out after my latest big reformatting to offer you these kinds of shifts that are occurring as we speak. So these are multidimensional transmissions as usual. Let's go ahead now, unless there's anything else that wants to come in from the update. Oh, just thank you so much for all the love notes. Whether you've written into the inbox on the YouTube channel or as part of the survey, I got a lot of really nice notes from you all. So thank you for that. I really feel the love when you send it my way. All right, so Earth Day. Yo, Earth, Gaia, Tara. Earth, 3D, Tara, 5D, Gaia, 8D. What we got going, girlfriend? Let's see. So in real time here, let's go ahead and just tune in. Again, let's sit back, connect in with that beautiful multidimensional codex, pillar of light that you are. Take a few deep breaths. Remembering it's all a game. And you can play it. You can play hardball and you can make it hard, like really hard if you want to. Some of us really enjoy learning things the hard way. But I feel like a lot of that is based in the extreme disconnection from source and not feeling worthy to be part of source. It's not even that you're like welcomed back or a child of source. You are source, right? But what's really coming in right now, and all the butterflies are flying around and the bumblebees are out, it's beautiful spring in the Blue Ridge Mountains here in North Carolina, is play. So the invitation this Earth Day is into more play, playful, childlike. So what I'm being shown is like the balancing of the scales. So we have so much seriousness and martyr, and I have to work so hard, and why is it so hard? Or I'm doing this for my family. I'm a hard worker. Self-sacrifice. It really feels like that old energy of like pulling the beast of burden, pulling the yoke, plowing the field. Okay, so like got enough of that on the planet. Everyone plays a role in lightening things up or not, or making them heavier. So that's the invitation. Really the request from our planetary consciousness is, can you please lighten it up? I'm going to link to the video I did years ago with my Sasquatch friend in Montana, and where we just laugh. That would be a good little tool to bring back in here. There's laughter yoga, but really it starts with that choice of making a different choice in how you choose to see the world. So you can turn on the news and be like, whoa, it's just so bad. Or you could turn on the news and be like, wow, what a shit show. This place, man. I can't believe what they create for themselves here. Like, whew, right? And just scratch your head and laugh and be like, dang, that's one way to do things, right? And not contribute to the of the matter. So becoming and offering maybe a lighter, a fluffier matter field through your own projection. Now, I realize, okay, we're hanging out in some rarefied air here, and if you haven't done any shadow work and you haven't even grounded yourself and you haven't done any of the basics, right? Like, you're like, what is she talking about? This place is hard and these things are real, right? And I get it. So if you're interested in getting to this place that's much more lighthearted and you're quick to laugh and you're contributing, what feels like almost like foamy reality feels instead of like dense peanut butter concrete, then commit to the inner journey. Commit to your psychic hygiene. They got the daily med right there on the YouTube channel. Commit to your shadow work and to seeing your gaps. And this has been huge for us who are out here, set up lifetimes to teach a lot of stuff. It's like we've had to take time to turn around and look, wait a minute, what's in my gap? What's in my shadow? What's in my blind spot? The cobbler's kids have no shoes. I'm doing and helping all these people with their transformation, but what have I not turned and looked at? So that's been a huge process for me for the last 3 years. And I know it has been for others as well. And so the extent to which we're willing to turn and face our shadow and integrate that, it just makes us so much more prone to be able to laugh at ourselves, not take ourselves so seriously. Water, I'm being shown water, time in water play. So even if it's just maybe, not getting to a body of water, that would be great, especially flowing water, I'm shown. But it's sprinklers, running through the sprinkler like a little kid. Slip and slide, go to the water park, right? So that's the request from our Earth Mother this year. Let's all just lighten it up a little bit. And as we lighten up, we lighten the rest of the field, right? We're infusing and informing the field differently. It's not any sort of like resisting or fighting against anything. It's much more about just creating a new photonic pathway and invitation, like the river just creates a new channel. And now all the water flows in that way. It doesn't try to go against where the water's already going, go like, don't go that way. That's not gonna work. The other application of this invitation and request is less pushing, forcing, and more allowing, receiving. So there's a time for aligned action, but then it feels like the counterbalance to that is like almost like the glue that will bring everything together is being in a state of allowing everything to put itself together in a different way. And that would be the very definition of an emanation embodiment. So it's like a completely different holographic reality pop-up book that you're creating when we've let so much go. Okay, so with that, I'm totally on board to keep things light and to lighten up. I make a point of just not taking this reality seriously when I'm out and about, and sending love and just being maybe a bright light in someone's day when they're surrounded by a lot of drudgery and misery that people are still choosing, right? It's not so much the events that happen to us, it's the narrative and the meaning that we assign to those events that cause so much pain and suffering. And so getting out of victimhood and choosing love over fear on the daily is simply the best kind of earth restoration cleanup we all can be doing. So thanks for your commitment to that. Thanks for being here with me. I look forward to continuing the journey. Not surprisingly, in a month, I have been reassigned again got my work done here. We can play the Where's Aisha game again, and maybe some of you can pick up where I'm headed in a month. Let's see. So with that, happy Earth Day. I love you all so much, and I will see you again very soon.